larger buildings require their own solutions, and especially when it comes to ventilation. And here we are with Ventacity that makes a high-performance ventilation system that could be suitable for passive house buildings. Uh, tell us, tell us about Ventacity, and you know, how does it differ from folks who may be used to like a smaller residential ERV system?
Well, it's very similar. The basic technology is the same. You have two fans.
Okay,
And
so then are we all done here, or
yeah,
what?
we're done. No, it's the same basic technology. You know, you have two fans, one that's exhausting air out of the building, another one that's bringing an equal amount of fresh air into the building, so it stays pressure balanced and neutral. And then there's a heat exchanger between those two, like this one here, that transfers the heat from the hot side to the cold side. So on a cold winter's day, when it's say 20 degrees outside and it's 70 degrees inside, and you've invested all this energy to keep your building warm, as you're exhausting that air out, it's releasing its heat energy to the air that's coming in. So now instead of coming in at 20 degrees, it's going to come in at maybe 62, 63 degrees, and your heating system only has to heat it a very little amount. So it's a very efficient way to heat a building. And as far as a smaller residential system versus a larger commercial system, it's just a matter of scale. You know, bigger.
So just bigger fans, bigger cores. So what is the secret sauce of Ventacity? I mean, there are the rooftop ventilation equipment. Why do you guys make these machines? What do you offer? What's
Uh,
different?
well, you know, there's a number of brands out there that make very high performance equipment. The main things are very high heat exchange, right? So you're transferring as much energy as possible. There's other brands that don't do as much. There's other brands that do similar to what we do. Our cores are a counterflow core. So it's a very simple device. It's passive. There's no extra belts or wheels or motors or anything on that. So it gets really good transfer. And then using very, very efficient fans that are controlled well. You know, so we use the highest efficiency fans that we can, so they're using as little energy to move that air as possible, and are also sophisticated enough to run really well. For example, ours, you set a flow rate. You're not setting, say, a fan speed of 1, 2, or 3, or a percentage or something like that. So if we set it at 500 CFM, it's going to keep operating to keep 500 CFM, even as things change in the system. For example, filters load up. You know, you put them in, they're brand new, they have very low pressure drop. As a whole bunch of little particles fill them, they load up and the pressure drop increases. And if you have just set a fan speed, then your flow is going to drop as that filter loads up. With ours, the fans slowly ramp up as the filter loads up, so you're keeping that amount of air going in and out of the building consistent over the pressure changes of that filter.
That's an interesting point. And so like I'm also thinking about inside the unit. Tenants are unpredictable, especially when they're not used to seeing this type of equipment. Are they when you the registers, the supply registers, or the exhaust? I mean, what if they tamper that? Does that what you just described offset?
Well, you know, I heard it once said that we make these perfect buildings and then we put people into them, and that just messes everything up, right? So, you know, you can never anticipate all the things like that. Yes, people could mess with the systems. Usually at the apartment level, there's balancing devices so that this apartment's getting the same amount of air as that apartment, getting the same amount of air for that apartment. If after those are properly balanced, somebody opens those up and messes with them or something, yeah, it can mess up the overall balance between the apartments and the system. The equipment back on the roof is still going to do its job, but it may not be distributed as well during the space. Similarly, a lot of times people will put filters on the return air grill to keep, you know, especially in kitchens, to keep, you know, cooking
Right.
stuff,
Particles.
greases and particles from getting back and spoiling the main filters. And those need to be maintained. You know, you need to change those regularly, or similarly, the pressure drop will go across there. And while the system may be doing its thing in that particular apartment, it won't be exhausting as well as it should have.
Great. Well, thank you so much for illuminating this to me. It's always been like a little opaque area in my knowledge, the larger scale commercial ERV systems.
You're very welcome. Thank you.